Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Refuge from Narcissism, and this refugee video is sponsored by contribution from Vincent, who wanted a random contribution for any type of video. And I was scrolling around, and as I do in the morning, I came across this article written in American Greatness. And as soon as I read the first paragraph, I'm like, okay, I think this will be a video for the baby boomer file. The baby boomers' dismal legacy. In all the fields touched by the people Helen Andrews profiles, tech, entertainment, economics, academia, politics, law, what they passed on to their children was worse than what they inherited. This was the line. This is the first paragraph. That there is no generation about which so much has been said, written, filmed, and sung as the baby boomers. Most of it by the boomers themselves, who have, from their youth, been absolutely enthralled with themselves. That's about as far as I got, saying like this might be a good video. This might be a good article for a video, being the current climate of YouTube and all, and what I can say and what I can't say. Not giving up on the boomers. Not giving up on you boomers. Not ever. Not ever. Because I know what you did. I know what you've done. Helen Andrews' new book, Boomers, is a welcome corrective to the steady stream of hagiographic literature produced since the first boomers picked up a pencil, a camera, and a guitar. It is at once beautifully written, incisive, entertainment, maddening, and flabbergasting. As she writes in the book's introduction, they tried to liberate us, and instead they left behind chaos. I don't even think they were trying to liberate us personally. They tried to control us and left behind chaos. They tried to take everything for themselves and left behind chaos. But at least this author knows they left behind nothing but chaos. Okay? I would add that Janis Joplin of the Silent Generation predicted this when she sang that freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. But the boomers weren't listening. If you want to understand the baby boom generation, you might start with this epigram. Extremism in the defense of vice is our liberty. So you're only free if you do extreme things in defense of whatever your vice is. That's liberty. If that isn't selfish and narcissistic and basically sums them up, I don't think anyone ever quite put it that way, but it could be a boomer slogan. And it's part of unlocking the secrets to their generation and to many of the problems they have inflicted on America and the world. Never has a generation in this country, or perhaps any other, so monopolized every aspect of society for so long and for such selfish ends, while congratulating each other on their selfish righteousness. And that's what you're seeing now. These boomers everywhere just clinging to power and destroying everything. They won't give it up. They're in their 80s. Some of them. Tear apart the family, the churches, the charities, the schools, and everything else in your path. Encourage mass drug use, promiscuous sex, and spend materialism. Even saddle your kids and grandkids with tens of trillions of dollars of debt to make sure you can keep the party going, Big Chill style, until the very last boomers depart for the strawberry fields where it's always 1967. I've talked about that fucking Big Chill movie, that boomer fucking paradise where at the end, the friend, they're all there because the friend killed themselves, and all it is about them and how great their fucking, how great their college was and their music was, and they're just all so just fucking self-satisfying with each other. And at the end of the movie, the one friend who doesn't have a fucking husband because she went off on some fucking feminism past, okay, gets the other friend to allow her husband to fuck her at the end of the movie to give her a baby. And these fucking boomers are fucking applauding. I remember my mother crying, oh, looking beautiful. Like, dude. You're letting your friend's husband fuck you. And they showed us in the movie, and these boomers thought it was the greatest fucking thing ever. It's hard. I did a video about that fucking Big Chill movie. I fucking hate that movie. I hate that fucking movie. Until the past few years, not many people noticed what the boomers were doing. It's no surprise they started their victory tour, celebrating themselves while they were in college in the 1960s, and haven't stopped since. Did I write this article? Did I write this article and not know it? Did I smoke too much friggin' hash rosin? And no, this is by Chris Berzik. Wasn't me. I didn't do it. It's no surprise they started their victory tour, celebrating themselves while they were in college in the 1960s and haven't stopped since. It's only now that many of them are in their 70s that space has opened for reassessment. Oh, I've been reassessing these people. Like, you think they're really going to reassess themselves? There's been us screaming about, hey, reassess these fucking people. We've been screaming from rooftops about them. If you really want to understand the full boomer cycle, and I suggest you do because their long ascendancy is a big part of the story of America from about 1960 until, well, right now. Exactly what I've been screaming. There are 3 books you need to read. The Holy Trilogy of Boomer Pathologies. They are The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, written by Tom Wolfe in 1968. The Culture of Narcissism by Christopher Lasch, published in 1979. What? Well, somebody else had it called in 1979, I guess, and had The Culture of Narcissism, published in 1979. Wow, I'm going to have to find that book. And the Goddardam rung of this cycle, Andrew's Boomers, the men and women who promised freedom and delivered disaster, published in January. So that's a new one. The Gotterdammerung, whatever that. I guess that's some kind of German high thing. And I know a lot of German. I don't know that one. Of this cycle, Andrew's Boomers, the men and women who promised freedom and delivered disaster, published in January. Well, that's a good title too. Boomers is an astounding book modeled on eminent Victorians, Light and Strachey's sharp 1918 reassessment of the British generation that dominated the 19th and very early 20th centuries. Andrews examines 6 high-profile members of the baby boom generation: Steve Jobs, Aaron Sorkin, Jeffrey Sachs, Camille Pagala, Al Sharpton, Sonia Sotomayor. Each represents an element of the essential boomer character. None of them are natural victims. Bullshit. 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 Al Sharpton isn't a natural victim. Bullshit. Okay? Steve Jobs isn't a natural villain. Bullshit. Bullshit he isn't. Bullshit he isn't. Bullshit he isn't a natural villain. Steve Jobs with his Chinese goddamn slave labor camps isn't a natural victim, a villain? Bullshit. Bullshit. Each represents an element of essential boomer character. None of them are natural villains. Rather, each is hobbled by a fatal flaw that leaves him permanently stunted. No, I don't agree with that part of it. One possible exception is Jobs, where compared to others, Jobs seems like a man out of time. In some ways, Apple co-founder is the essential boomer. But while he shared and in some ways defined the boomer aesthetic, his soul belonged to another generation. He did, after all, insist that the Apple Macintosh being manufactured in the United States. It was Tim Cook who later shifted manufacturing to China. Okay, that's fair. Tim Cook did that? And okay, maybe he did. And Jobs kept pouring out of the App Store. We believed we have a moral responsibility to keep pouring off the iPhone, Jobs said in 2010. Jobs had some very unboomerish views, Andrews observes. Every profile in the book is fascinating, and Andrews is in her element. Her penetrating gaze leaves the subjects of these character portraits naked and vulnerable, but her elegant writing and human style turn what could be acid takedowns of caricatures into the human, all too human failures of the me generation. Where Tom Wolfe described the boomers in their rebellious, countercultural, drug-addled youth, Christopher Lasch, that's the narcissism one, picked up the thread as they were starting families, advancing their careers, making some money, and taking over the institutions they had rebelled against just a few years before. But don't worry, they didn't sell out. No, not the boomers. They put a deadhead sticker on their Cadillacs, and they parked the caddy in front of a nice house in the suburbs that steadily rose in value. But the boomers were the last generation that could support a middle-class family on one income. And that house they're living in that has appreciated so nicely over the years, it's become so expensive that their kids, the millennials, can't afford to buy one, let alone have kids. What about again, right over Gen X. Right over Gen X. In fact, the boomers had about 4 times the wealth the millennials currently have as they enter their 40s. And that is the exact point I have been making about the boomers. Okay, it is, they lived on 25%, okay, the value of the dollar. The dollar has appreciated or depreciated, whatever it is, okay? The cost of a loaf of bread has gone up 4 times. Okay, what it was when the boomers got started. It's just the way it is, and they don't acknowledge any of that. Oh, I had this and I had that at your age. Fuck off. You bought a house for fucking 30 grand. A house that's probably now worth $750,000, like my parents' house in New Jersey. They bought their house in 1971 for $38,000 with 20% down. They had a $30,000 mortgage over 30 years. What could the fucking mortgage? The mortgage payment was a couple $100 a month, and they bitch and moan about it. Oh, well, when you bought your house, your interest rate was 5%. Great. Do you want to pay 5% over 30 years on $250,000, or would you rather pay fucking 8 or 9% on $30,000 over 30? Like, come on, man. And the boomers act like they don't understand any of that. None of that exists. None of that exists. We were able to do it. Fuck off. Throughout the book, Andrews paints a picture not just of unrelenting narcissism, but of radical, lifelong immaturity. Her profile of Aaron Sorkin, the creator of The West Wing, was striking in this regard. But the chapter on Camille Pagala is particularly jarring, mostly because it seems to hit dead center and lay her bare. She describes Pagala's decadence as a mauve decadence, corrupt but non-threatening, and her mimetic, yet one-sided rivalry with Susan Sonig exposed a petty side to Pagala that diminishes her cultivated reputation for brassy independence. Some of these things get way too wordy. Throughout the book, Andrews exposes these small but revealing tidbits about her subjects, and in doing so holds a mirror up to them and to the America they created. One example is a quote she includes from Harvard law professor Lawrence Tribe's memo to Barack Obama, a former student, advising against nominating Sonia Sotomayor to the Supreme Court. Bluntly put, he told the president, she's not nearly as smart as she seems to think she is. That's most boomers. The book is wonderful in many ways. I've already given it to a few friends, but there is also a melancholy undercut that runs through the story. Part of it is seeing so much potential wasted on performative narcissism. That's what it is with these boomers. You're going through a performance. You're watching them perform their life. The world is their stage, and you're just watching it. It can be perhaps be tolerated in youth, but only just. Yet witnessing through these profiles a lifetime devoted to its both contemptible and dispiriting. In the end, the boomers didn't build anything. Boy, is that a fact, Jack? As Andrews points out, boomers claim credit for the civil rights movement, but that would require them to have been riding freedom buses and sitting at lunch counters before most of them hit puberty. It was the generations that came before them that did the work. Instead, they just tore everything down they were born into in a lifelong tantrum that is justified as idealism. And now everyone else is left with the consequences. We're all left with the consequences of the baby boomers. That's been my whole point about them. We are all left to deal with their consequences, and they have been the most consequential and destructive generation, and I have been screaming this on this channel for 6 years. Okay, they have been the most destructive generation that has walked this planet maybe ever. And they are going to cling to whatever power they can hold on to till their last breath. Once again, here we are, another article about boomers, millennials, and no mention of Generation X. Once again. Who are the bigots? Who are the sexists? Who are the homophobes? Who are the ones losing all their jobs by and large? Gen Xers. Fuck. So frustrating. I like American Greatness. American Greatness, it's a great site. And I know this author. I've read this guy before. But again, right over fucking Gen X again. And you can't figure out why this country is so fucking miserable. You got a whole generation that is completely ignored. Until you're trying to cancel one of us. Then you want to give plenty of attention. Tom Wolfe wrote a fitting epitaph for the boomers in 1968. The scene he describes, in which the young woman known as Stark Naked, liberated by drugs and promiscuous sex from the square society of husbands and wives, parents and children, is left literally naked, broken, and screaming, on Larry McMurtry's front lawn as her former compatriots, I won't say friends, on Ken Kisney's magic bus drive down the road without her could apply to the baby boom generation as they, too, are left behind. Stark naked has done her thing. She roared off into the void and was picked up by the cops by and by, and the doors closed in the county psychiatric ward. And that was that, for the pranksters were long gone. Ultimately, Andrews concludes that the boomers leave behind a dismal legacy. In all the fields touched by the 6 boomers profiled here, technology, entertainment, economics, academia, politics, law, what they passed on to their children was worse than what they inherited. In some cases, as with Steve Jobs and his products, or Camille Pagala and her books, they left behind accomplishments that are impressive and worthy of gratitude. But the overall effect of the boomer generation has still been essentially destructive. Her judgment is brutal, but it is just. As is mine. As is mine, as it has always been. My judgment is brutal, but it is just. That is the baby boomer generation. This is a great article. It has its flaws. Chris Buskirk, I've read him before. Very good. Ugh. Yep. If that ain't the baby boomer. And the funny thing is, this is fresh. Obviously, this is fresh ink on this, but this is the boomers, man. This is the boomers. But hey, who am I to talk? Who am I to talk? Right? Right? Brutal, but just. It's what they are. And we're all left with the consequences. We're all left with the consequences of them. So, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Thank you, Vincent, for the donation and the suggestion. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like me to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype, phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or you'd just like to make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you guys. Without you all, this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Refuge from Narcissism. Take care, everybody.